Hi again, everybody. I'm Rob Rosenthal with AskTheLawyers.com, and welcome to another episode of Ask the Lawyers. Today we're talking about that fiery tractor-trailer crash in Colorado that ended recently with 28 vehicles involved and left 4 people dead. Prosecutors have now charged the driver of the truck with 40 total counts, including 4 for vehicular homicide. If you haven't seen the video that was shot by a witness to the accident, you can click on the link with this post and check it out. Here today to answer our questions is Georgia attorney Kathy McArthur of the McArthur Law Firm in Macon, Georgia. Kathy has been named a top 10 lawyer in the state of Georgia by Super Lawyers for 2019, and she holds a number of record verdicts for car and truck accidents. Kathy, thank you for making some time for us today. I appreciate it.
Well, thanks for having me on.
Now, you've had a lot of experience with truck accident cases in Georgia. Have you seen any similar to this one?
Well, I've seen the video of what happened, and I've read about the tragedy of the whole thing, and it's just a horrible event that happened.
Have you had experience with cases like this that involved so many vehicles at once?
Well, we had one that involved a lot of vehicles that was caused by smoke coming across a highway. Where suddenly, there was no visibility, and we had about that many vehicles involved, but it wasn't as fiery an explosion or anything like that. But, when tractor trailers involved with passenger cars, tractor trailers always win.
Mm-hmm. Now, in this case, obviously it's still under investigation, but early reports say it might have been some sort of mechanical defect, whether it was brakes or something like that. What does that mean as far as responsibility goes, as far as who's responsible for the accident?
Well, probably his company is involved as far as they're responsible for the condition of their truck. He's involved personally from the standpoint of, from what I read, he knew his brakes weren't working.
Oh.
Asked a number of either signs or ramps for runaway trucks that he didn't avail himself of. Said he was going 85 miles an hour, but didn't want to pull off on one of the ramps because he didn't want to roll his truck. So, there's individual responsibility in his own judgment and lack of making the right decision as far as continuing on the highway that way. But as far as his own company would be responsible, it could be that there's a maintenance company that took care of the truck that would have some fault in this. And a lot of times when you're looking at a situation like this where you've got numerous fatalities and any number of injuries and so much carnage that enough insurance coverage sometimes on trucks like this, particularly here in Georgia, we have a lot of timber trucks that really usually only have about $1 million in coverage. And for something like this, that's just not enough. So a responsible attorney is going to look for other avenues as far as other companies that are involved and other coverages to potentially get reasonable compensation for the deaths and the injuries.
Yeah, one thing I've seen in stories about this particular case, they said the truck was completely destroyed in the fire. I would assume that would make an attorney's job more difficult as far as trying to determine if it were equipment failure.
Well, that would make it more difficult, but a lot of times, just like with airplanes and other types of big time mechanical stuff, there's an onboard computer. And the onboard computer is going to show what type of braking was done on what areas of the truck, and it might have a lot of information there. The brakes may not have, the brake drums may still be available, who knows? But, the facts of the case clearly the truck, the driver and his employer, they're automatically responsible for this in terms of, I think the evidence was clear that he knew there was a problem with the brakes and didn't stop the truck. So it's not like if somebody has a heart attack as they're driving down the road and they had no idea it was coming on, or something like that where they had no idea something was going to happen, and it's like lightning strikes and something happens and there's a terrible follow-up. With this, there was advance notice of the bad brakes, it appears, and a judgment was made by the driver to continue on. So he's clearly responsible, his employer's clearly responsible, and the insurance on the truck. Possibly there'd be insurance on the truck cab and different insurance on the truck trailer that should be looked at.
And you had mentioned that there seemed to be some signs along this stretch of road that warned them of the grade and warned truckers to be aware of that. Does that change the responsibility at all?
Well, it does change it from the standpoint of, and every state has their own laws about punitive damages. And punitive damages are damages that are awarded in addition to the damages for the specific injuries or the value of a life. Punitive damages are awarded to deter conduct, to try to keep it from ever happening again. And in Georgia, we would be entitled to ask for punitive damages if we could find that the conduct of the driver was so reckless and responsible and had conscious disregard for the safety or lives of other people. Then we could ask for punitive damages, which increases the volume of damages that could be awarded by a jury. I'm just concerned in this case as to whether there's going to be enough insurance coverage to cover all of the damage caused by this.
In these sort of situations, the criminal case obviously is still ongoing. He was just charged last week. Civil cases, do they have to wait until the criminal case is done? Or if somebody was involved anytime in an accident like this, should they contact an attorney for a civil case right away? How's the timing work out on that?
Well, absolutely. Anybody who's harmed or a family member is harmed or killed as a result of something like this, they need to talk to an attorney right away, because evidence tends to disappear or go away quickly. And sometimes it's because of intentional conduct, and sometimes it's simply because of the passage of time. But it's important to have an attorney on your side to investigate right away and to nail down all the available facts and evidence, and to get the onboard computer from that truck and have it downloaded. You know, even with a bad fire and explosion, it's likely, and it said that the truck driver himself sustained injuries, but nothing like happening. So I would assume that onboard computer is still available. So it's important to get an attorney pretty quickly to look at this. You asked about the criminal case. You don't have to wait till the criminal case is over with. Whether a person is criminally charged even, or whether they're found guilty or not, is not even admissible in most states in a civil case. So that, you know, the state has the obligation or the responsibility for deciding whether to charge a person criminally, and one really doesn't have anything to do with the other. A person can be civilly responsible for something and it's not a crime, or it might be, but just because there are criminal charges pending, it doesn't mean the civil case can't go forward. On the other hand, when a person has criminal charges pending, then when you take their testimony, they're likely to take the Fifth Amendment, where they say they refuse to answer the question because of the fact that their answer might incriminate them, and they would be wisely advised to take the Fifth if it involved facts and circumstances like these. So you might not be able to get information that you need. On the other hand, in a civil case, it's not all that bad to show somebody taking the Fifth when you're asking questions that are crucial, important information questions on a situation like this. So that was a long answer to a short question. No, you don't have to wait. And yes, you should get a lawyer right away.
What is, in a more general sense, what are some lessons that you would hope truck drivers might take away from a tragic situation like this?
Well, I think that the lesson you would hope they would take away from it would be, rather than making a decision not to avail themselves of the runaway truck ramps, that they should sooner than later go ahead and do that, get the truck off the road, get it stopped, and call for assistance and evaluation on the brakes, rather than risk something like this. Just like anything else, I guess people think, well, it won't happen to me, or I can get to the next exit, and I don't want to be stuck up on that ramp. But, you know, in truth, when you're talking about a load as big as this, as heavy as this, as big as trucks are, it's a life and death decision that they're making at that moment. And you would hope that, having heard about this, more truckers would make the decision to stop rather than keep going and hope for the best.
Absolutely. Kathy, thank you for your time today. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me on.
And my guest has been attorney Kathy McArthur, the McArthur Law Firm in Macon, Georgia. And that's going to do it for this episode of Ask the Lawyers. Please take a second and click on the button at the bottom of the screen to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you'll know when we have future episodes. Thank you for watching, and remember, when you need legal information or you're ready to choose a lawyer that lawyers choose, visit AskTheLawyers.com. Thank you.